We don't want all the business, just yours.
You're watching Channel 6, your 24-hour news source.
This is a Channel 6 News special report. The tragedy of Flight 508.
This is the view Flight 508 had on approach to the Birmingham airport approximately 24 hours ago. The destination of a short commuter flight was just minutes away. Then disaster struck.
Birmingham Fire and Rescue.
Listen, this is Mrs. Fred Marlett. An airplane has crashed in the middle of the street in front of our house. The lightning struck it. The whole block up above me is on fire.
2500 block of 29th Place, Ensley, where the aircraft crashed into a residence. Ambulance en route. Engine 20 report smoke showing.
Rescue 16 on the scene. We got a victim back here in the alley. We're taking care of him. This is Rescue 16.
Operator, this is 20 Snorkel. Go ahead and send us another rescue unit. We got another victim out in front of the house. 20 Snorkel request an additional rescue unit.
Operator, this is 20 Snorkel. We have the pilot out in the front yard, and he stated this was a passenger plane.
20 Snorkel reports pilot outside, confirms a passenger aircraft.
Those fire department transmissions echo a Birmingham tragedy. Good evening, I'm Janet Hall.
And I'm Scott Richards. Thanks for joining us this evening. Tonight we are expanding the Alabama Evening News to 1 hour for a special Channel 6 News report, The Tragedy of Flight 508. We're taking an in-depth look at the events surrounding the deadly crash of that commuter airplane. L'Express Flight 508 was south of Birmingham about this time yesterday. As we reported, the flight originated in New Orleans, and all but one of its 12 passengers boarded in Mobile for the flight to Birmingham. Flight 508 neared Ensley in a violent thunderstorm, and that's when it went down, slamming into two houses on 29th Place North. When the first crews arrived on the scene, they could not yet know that this crash would go down as the worst in Alabama aviation history. 12 passengers and one of the plane's 2 crew members were dead. Emergency crews would be on the scene throughout the evening. Jan?
The effort to find out why Flight 508 went down intensified today. More officials from the National Transportation Safety Board arrived on the scene of the crash this afternoon. Earlier this morning, officials found the aircraft's cockpit voice recorder. Investigators originally weren't sure that type of plane, a Beech C-99, had a voice recorder. The Federal Aviation Administration has the tapes of last night's transmissions with the pilot of the aircraft. Those tapes will be released after the FAA and the NTSB compile information from their investigations.
Victoria McCullough is at the crash site in Ensley right now with more on what's happening. Victoria?
Well, the crash site right now behind me is empty. The investigators have gone, and we presume for the day. The only people still out here, Birmingham Police, the American Red Cross, and a few straggling neighbors who are still looking at what's happening here, which isn't a much right now. The investigators left about just under an hour ago. We're going to catch up with them at 7 o'clock with the NTSB to hear what happened today, what they were able to find out. They did give us a briefing while we were here earlier today. What they were able to tell us is that this investigation will probably last on site through Monday. We do hear it's going more quickly than expected, and so far that's what's happening here, and we'll be able to catch up with them in an hour.
All right. Thank you, Victoria.
L'Express has released the names of all 13 people killed in the crash now. 5 are from Birmingham. They are Marilyn Cantrell, John Eversman, Orrin Smith, David Wright, Carol Delana Pickens, and Glenn Phillips. Also killed in the crash, Virginia Edwards from Fort Polk, Louisiana, the Reverend and Mrs. Lovell Johnson from Milwaukee, crew member Richard Wyndham from Mississippi, Thurman Russell from Germantown, Tennessee, Susan Stiers from Tampa, Florida, and Marianne Remorowski of Woodbury, Minnesota. The 2 survivors are the pilot, who is from Niceville, Florida, and Birmingham lawyer Mabry Rogers.
Now, several of the passengers killed aboard Flight 508 were very well known in this community, as is one of the 2 survivors. Brenda LeDunn joins us now to tell us more on the people caught in this disastrous flight. Brenda?
Janet, we were certainly all shocked to hear about the crash, but many people were jolted a second time today when they learned the names of those victims. Today, I took a closer look at a few of the passengers of Flight 508.
51 minutes of great oldies and today's favorites this hour on Magic 96.
The usual jovial banter was subdued at Magic 96 this morning. After 8 a.m., the program director made a difficult announcement. One of the station's DJs was killed in the plane crash. His on-air name was Chris Taylor. His real name was John Eversman. He was a weekend DJ and worked for Procter & Gamble during the week. His wife gave birth to a son just 6 months ago. Alabama Power employees were also mourning today. Carol Pickens ran the SHARE program at the company. She helped assist low-income families. A prayer service was held today by her co-workers. Friends she worked with are also trying to assist the family. Today would have been her 14th year anniversary at the company. But out of the wreckage were two miracles. The pilot and a Birmingham lawyer, Mabry Rogers, survived. After Rogers was rescued, he was brought here to Caraway Methodist Medical Center. Today, he is in stable condition, and his doctor says he might even be able to go home in 2 or 3 days. But it's understandable because of the shock of the plane crash. He and his family did not want to go on camera today. But they did make a statement through a hospital spokesperson.
Their thoughts and prayers are with the families of those passengers who didn't survive, and they extend their deepest sympathies to those families.
Rogers is a high-energy attorney who is well respected by his colleagues. They too were horrified when they first heard the plane went down.
Well, I first heard the news and I had this sort of deep shock in the gut, you know. I mean, we have so many lawyers up here who fly planes that we're always worried something like this will happen. And then they said he was fine, and I can't tell you how relieved we were.
Rogers has worked at Bradley Arant Rose and White for 16 years. He's 42 years old and has 3 children. He recently broke his ankle playing volleyball. His friends say he works hard and plays hard. That was demonstrated by a call to his secretary about 3 hours after the plane crash.
It was a message from Mabry telling me, Michelle, I'm okay. Call our client and tell him I've lost these papers in that accident, and that we'll get so-and-so staffed on this case and handle it right away. So that's, he's always thinking ahead, trying to get things handled. So.
As we mentioned, the pilot who also survived is 54-year-old Francis Fernandez. He is in satisfactory condition tonight at UAB. Doctors say he can't remember the crash.
We can all remember our shock when we first heard about the plane going down yesterday. It's always worse, though, in the aftermath when you get to know the people a little bit. You find out about their families and their jobs and co-workers. What about the pilot now and the short-term memory loss that he's experiencing? Will he be able to remember this someday?
Doctors believe that it will eventually come back. This is not a long-term memory loss, as you mentioned, and they don't believe that there are any tears or lesions on the brain tissue itself, so it will probably come back.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Well, there were several people on the ground who were taken to area hospitals last night. All but one have been released now. That one, 81-year-old Leon Warren, is in good condition tonight at BMC Princeton. Of course, the crash of Flight 508 has left the Fairview neighborhood badly shaken. Many of the residents have lived there for decades. Today, many were still visibly upset. They described last night as one long nightmare.
Sat on the porch all night and watched them bring the bodies out.
That must be a terrible feeling to sit there on your porch.
It is, and when you know what they're doing, the ambulances would come down the alley, come up the hill, turn, and go past our house. We watched at 2:30 this morning.
Mrs. Fannin is one of many longtime Fairview residents who says she worried that a plane crash would eventually happen someday in their neighborhood.
Well, Mayor Richard Arrington was at the crash site again this morning. After touring the damage, the mayor told us it was one of the worst disasters he can remember in Birmingham.
It's come to mind. You know, we had a tornado through here, but we didn't lose as many lives. And as tragic as this is, I still think we're fortunate that we didn't lose more lives in this. And only had 2 homes destroyed. We're fortunate that the people were on the scene quickly, the fire didn't spread, and things of that sort.
And the mayor was also on the scene last night, surveying the damage and talking with residents and rescue workers.
We mentioned the good news about 81-year-old Leon Warren just a moment ago. Last night, he was worried not only about his own injuries, but because he couldn't find his dog. Today, rescue workers found Warren's beloved pet. Tootsie was found under a table in the house, buried under the rubble. Tootsie is doing just fine, and these pictures may be some of the best medicine of all for Mr. Warren, probably doing just as much as the doctors could do in some ways.
Great news for him. There is much more ahead in this special hour edition of the Alabama Evening News. Later in the hour, emergency response teams evaluate their own performance in the Eclipse crash.
And next, the fears of people who live beneath the flight path to the Birmingham airport.
The Mazda Summer Savings Express is here. Get a Mazda MPV. With a Mazda Value Pack and limited time incentives, you could save up to $1,528. Hurry! This can't last long.
Catch the Summer Savings Express at Med Center and Roebuck Mazda.
Each year in Alabama, hundreds of homes and businesses go up in flames so owners can collect insurance money. But arson for profit destroys more than buildings. It burns up your money too. You pay for it with higher insurance premiums. Hi, I'm Brian Pia. Even though suspected arson cases are on the rise, very few arrests are actually made. Join me for a Target 6 report, Arson for Profit, tonight at 10 on Channel 6, your 24-hour news source.
Sofa World always gives you value, but when you can get a love seat free, it's out of this world. Just buy this Camelback Sleeper with inner spring mattress for $6.99 and get the love seat free. Choose this attached back sleeper with inner spring for $6.99 and the love seat is free. Buy this round arm sleeper with deep seating for $6.99, the love seat is free. Choose your sleeper, then pick your fabric at no extra charge.
The greatest values on earth, Sofa World.
Winn-Dixie's WD brand beef, the closest thing you'll find to the true flavor of the West. Taste the flavor in a U.S. Choice whole untrimmed semi-boneless ribeye, just $2.99 a pound. Take home a WD brand boneless rump roast, $1.97 a pound. Fresh fry or leg quarters are priced low at 29 cents a pound, and swift, plump, and tender young turkey breast is 98 cents a pound at Winn-Dixie. Low prices nobody can beat.
Closed captioning of Channel 6 News is sponsored by your Heart of Alabama Chevrolet Geo dealers.
Welcome back to our special hour coverage of the Flight 508 crash. Each day, 70 planes come in and out of Birmingham. They all must fly over hundreds of homes, of course. And Sarah Versa reports yesterday's crash has folks wondering about air traffic over their homes.
15,000 planes fly in and out of Birmingham each month. Many of them fly over or very near these homes. James and Joyce Hogan aren't surprised about the traffic. They're surprised a crash hasn't happened closer to their East Lake home.
Not only are we having more traffic, but we're having larger planes in and out with more people on them, you know. It could happen anytime. There goes one right over in there now. He's a little higher, though.
The normal Birmingham flight pattern for runway 5 passes directly over Legion Field, approaching the runway from the southwest, headed northeast. That's the path Flight 508 was on last night. Ensley is well within that path, but planes seldom get any closer than this, several thousand feet up. Neighbors within blocks of the crash can hardly believe it. They say they'd never dreamed that a plane could fall here.
You hardly ever hear a plane coming across here.
Jetliners all come in this circle in this pattern here, and they take off in this pattern here, going to the airport and from the airport, but I never thought that one would fall in this area over here, no.
From now on, Rogers and others say they will wonder if it will ever happen again. Sarah Verser, Channel 6, the Alabama Evening News.
Now, emergency management officials say most plane crashes happen during landing or takeoff within 5 miles of the airport.
Severe weather was moving through the Birmingham area 24 hours ago as Flight 508 went down. That has raised questions about a possible weather connection to that crash. James Spann joins us now with a closer look at that weather activity. And the plane went down, James, 24 hours and 2 minutes ago.
Scott, that was a huge thunderstorm out in the western part of Birmingham. It was 50,000 feet tall. And of course, a lot of the speculation is centered on wind shear and the possibility of a microburst. And let's explain that, since we didn't really have a good opportunity to do that earlier. We have some pictures to show you, some graphics that will explain perhaps what this airplane encountered as it approached Birmingham last night. Now, the normal flight path, as you saw in Sarah's report, would take it right over that part of Birmingham, the western part of Birmingham, and that large thunderstorm developed right in that path. In fact, a number of people said they saw the plane making the normal right-hand turn in that thunderstorm. Now, assuming we did have a microburst in the area, first off, the airplane would encounter a very severe headwind, which would slow the airplane down, and then as it began to exit the thunderstorm region, it would have a severe tailwind, and often when that happens, you can have rapid loss of altitude, and in extreme cases, an airplane could possibly crash, such as happened back in August of 1985 with a Delta L-1011 jet. I was working that particular afternoon in Dallas. Now, let's go to the actual Doppler 6 radar frames. We saved the frames last night as the Doppler 6 indicated a couple of thunderstorms merging over the area. Now, notice you're looking there at Interstate 59 and 20. That's the northernmost interstate there, and the lower road is 3rd Avenue West, which turns into the Bessemer-Birmingham Superhighway, and of course the crash scene is indicated on the Doppler radar frame there. Now, let's begin to roll the animation very slowly. Watch the storm isolated there to the west of Midfield merge with the line of thunderstorms moving into Birmingham from the northwest, and that merger occurred at about 6 o'clock directly over the crash site. Notice how the storms intensify. Frequently when storms merge, you'll see a rapid intensification, and at that moment there could have very well been a downburst in the region. Also notice on that particular frame, Scott and Janet, the 2 white plus signs, those are lightning strikes. This system can detect cloud-to-ground lightning. We did have that in the area. In fact, let's take it one more frame. By the way, every frame here was taken every 2 minutes. Notice in the next frame, 2 minutes later, we had 4 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in the area. Torrential rainfall right over the western part of Birmingham where the airplane went down. Now, again, it will take months, obviously, for the investigators to come up with a reason for this crash, but that scenario was very much like August in 1985, summer afternoon thunderstorm when the L-1011 went down at the DFW International Airport in Dallas.
And James, I understand the investigators will be talking to you, will be looking at our Doppler and anything they can get their hands on.
They're scheduled to visit probably tomorrow, Janet and Scott, and they want to see what we just showed you at home, and they will make a detailed analysis of that.
Thank you very much, James. Well, commuter air service such as Eclipse is certainly very important to a number of Alabama travelers. Rick Earl will have that full story coming up.
But first, a look at the safety record of the plane involved in this crash. Our special report continues next on Channel 6 News, your 24-hour news source.
Tuesday night, I was at Chili's when I ran into an old friend. We shook hands. Then we swapped stories over the baby back ribs. It was hard to say which was juicier, his stories or those ribs. The ribs got my vote. A full rack of tender Danish baby back ribs brushed with spicy barbecue sauce. I told him we should do this again soon. So we've been repeating Tuesday night at Chili's ever since.
Tuesday night at Chili's. Tuesday night at Chili's. Tuesday night at Chili's. Tuesday night at Chili's.
Domestic, imported. As a car dealer, it's getting hard to tell the difference. Me, I sell domestics. The guy next door sells Hondas. Some of my cars are made in places like Korea. The Honda guy, his cars are imported. Many from as far away as Ohio. Go figure.
Your Alabama Honda Connection dealers: Burke, Royal, Bonnet, Tameron, Townsend, Sarah.
I was in Ohio once. Couldn't understand the language, but the food was great.
What is in? Ooh, yeah. What is in? Everybody tell me, I got to know. What is in? What's in? What?
When it's sink or swim, you can't be tied to the phone redialing a busy number. But with repeat dialing from South Central Bell, your phone keeps dialing the number for you. Then when the line is clear, your phone alerts you with a special ring.
No, it's plumbing. Bring the arc.
South Central Bell makes your life a touch easier. Call on us. Act now and get our special offer.
For all your industrial tire needs, call Lee Rogers Tire Company, Birmingham.
And remember, we don't want all the business, just yours.
This segment is brought to you by Winn-Dixie, America's supermarket.
Now, the plane that crashed yesterday is a Beechcraft C-99 turboprop plane. The plane was built actually in Selma, Alabama 7 years ago.
And the C-99 is designed to carry 14 people and 2 crew members, so it was 1 seat from being full last night. Art Franklin gave you detailed information on the C-99 last night, and he continued to gather more of it today. He joins us now from the newsroom. Art?
Well, Scott, at this morning's Eclipse Airliners press conference at the Birmingham airport, it was the airplane that was drawing most of the focus, more attention than questions about the flight crew's experience. In fact, it drew more attention than the plane and the weather conditions. Well, it's a 7-year-old plane that Express bought from Beech Aircraft 10 days ago, a plane with 8,000 flight hours and a complete makeover. However, it is also a plane that went down, and so far no one can say why. But Express Airline President Bruce Nobles is strongly defending his airplane.
It's perfectly capable of operating the environment. We operate in this part of the country and have successfully for the 2 years we've been in business with both the 1900s and C-99s.
In fact, Express has so much confidence in the C-99s, this type of plane, they plan on buying 4 more of these planes for their fleet. And by the way, the C-99s are pretty common commuter planes. Scott, Jan.
Now, Art, we've discussed some about the financial problems that the Express airline has been going through. Did Nobles have any comment on that?
Nobles did discuss the financial troubles that they've had. In fact, he talked about them going into bankruptcy reorganization in January of this year, but he says the company is looking up. That's why they're able to buy 4 more of the C-99s.
Art, thank you very much. As we've reported, the Express plane that crashed was built in Selma. It was constructed at this plant adjacent to the Selma airport. Beech C-99s were built here from 1980 to 1985. The Express plane that crashed was built in '84. Beechcraft now uses this plant to refurbish planes, although the one that crashed was not refurbished in Selma. Officials at the Selma plant would not comment on yesterday's crash or on that plane.
Of course, many Alabamians take advantage of commuter air service. There are shuttles throughout the state. Rick Earl of our Anniston-Gadsden newsroom talked with the people behind the scenes of one commuter airline.
Every day, Skybus Express shuttles on the average 40 people between Anniston and Atlanta. Skybus is new here. It replaced Atlantic Southeast Airlines, which left Anniston due to poor ticket sales. But Skybus says there's a need for commuter service.
You really can't operate a larger aircraft. It's not economically feasible to operate a larger aircraft in a smaller market like this.
The airline has 29 flights a day between Atlanta, Anniston, Gadsden, and Athens, Georgia. Skybus has 4 of these Nomad N24 turboprop planes. This one seats 16 people and a crew of 2. Most of them are about 8 to 12 years old. Skybus, like other commuter carriers, is regulated by the FAA. The FAA says pilots and planes must meet federal standards. And in some cases, the only difference between commuter pilots and major carrier pilots is experience. For example, Leonard Hendricks has been flying for 3 years.
I would say the commuter airlines it's one step from the big airlines, but procedure-wise and all the rest, it's pretty much the same, like cockpit procedures.
And commuter pilots say whether taking off or landing, they all follow basic guidelines.
It's about 10 miles out. We call in here, Anniston Radio, the flight service station, and we'll get an advisory from them. They'll tell us what kind of wind we have, if there's traffic in the area. That way we'll know what runway we're going to land, and from that point on we'll just report wherever we are.
Skybus is only several months old, and it has a clean record. The airline is now looking to expand service to Tuscaloosa and Muscle Shoals. In Anniston, Rick Earl, Channel 6, the Alabama Evening News.
Now, commuter airlines are used heavily at many of the smaller airports across Alabama. In Birmingham, L'Express and TW Express both offer flights on smaller airplanes with prop engines. And Comair and United Express offer service with smaller jets.
This edition of the Alabama Evening News continues with the day after Flight 508. Still ahead, a look at the efforts of emergency crews.
But first, when we come back, James Spann's forecast. Our Channel 6 News special report continues.
In most stores, when you buy magazines, snacks, greeting cards, pantyhose, and lots of other items, you pay the full package price. But not at Winn-Dixie, where you get a 5 to 25% discount every day.
Tantalize your sweet tooth. Little Debbie snacks are 10% off every day. Here's a novel idea, 5% off paperbacks and magazines every day. And here's a sheer bargain. Pantyhose are discounted 10% every day at Winn-Dixie, America's supermarket.
Did you know you can drive a brand new loaded 91 Chevy S10 Tahoe pickup for only $189 a month and no down payment at participating dealers while supply lasts? And loaded means equipped. Tahoe trim, V6, air conditioning, stereo cassette, sliding rear window, rear step bumper, white letter radials, and more. 91 S10 Tahoe, $189 a month, $189 a month lease, and no down payment. It's that simple at your Heart of Alabama Chevrolet Geo dealers. Hurry!
Insulation, double pane windows, and an energy-saving heat pump help make a Good Sense home a decision you can be comfortable with. For more information on Good Sense homes, call Alabama Power.
A reminder from Hardee's.
They're a modern Stone Age family.
It's the Flintstones' 30th anniversary. So Hardee's is offering commemorative glasses from the 4 most popular episodes for 99 cents when you buy any beverage.
With the family down the street, through the courtesy of French New Feeks.
Come to Hardee's for a Flintstone glass. Have a juicy burger while you're there.
Dabba-doo time, a dabba-doo time. We'll have a gay old
And help
time.
celebrate 30 years of Yabba Dabba Doo times.
Quite a contrast to yesterday's weather that turned out to be so tragic that may have played a role in that crash of Flight 508. Today, a much different situation.
Scott, showers and thunderstorms were very hard to find across Alabama today. The atmosphere is much more stable, so accordingly, we saw more sunshine and more heat today with afternoon highs well up into the 90s. At this hour, here at the Doppler 6 Weather Center, skies are sunny. We have 92 degrees, relative humidity at 48%, the barometer 30.01 and falling, and the wind out of the northwest at 6 miles per hour. High today here was 93, the airport with a high of 91. Lows this morning running in the low 70s across the Birmingham area. No rain today for the first time in several days, and air quality at 48. That's considered good. One more time, let's show you an expanded version of the Doppler 6 radar animation from this very time 24 hours ago. These were the showers and thunderstorms that came into the Birmingham area at the time the airplane went down. Again, you can see the cell merger, this storm merging with this line of storms. And as we pointed out last night, by public severe weather standards, this was not a severe thunderstorm. The winds with this gusted to 37 miles per hour here at the Doppler 6 Weather Center. We did not have large hail, no winds greater than 58 miles per hour. But again, there's always the possibility of turbulence aloft within the storm that perhaps had a role in the crash of that airplane. But again, the investigators certainly will look at that carefully, and they will be analyzing this data probably sometime tomorrow here at the Doppler 6 Weather Center. All right, on to the weather scene. First off, a check of the beach forecast. A lot of folks headed south for the weekend. Tomorrow on through Sunday, really not that bad. A good supply of sunshine each day. We'll call it partially sunny, 5 to 7 hours of sunshine. High temperatures mostly in the low 90s, lows mostly in the mid 70s. Always a chance of a late afternoon or early morning shower, but I don't expect any widespread rain for the Gulf Coast over the weekend. Around Alabama at the 6 o'clock hour, temperatures mostly in the low 90s now, although it's cooled down to 84 now in Anniston. Tuscaloosa and Muscle Shoals holding on to 93. Montgomery with 91, and Mobile currently with 90 degrees. Up on the radar, as we mentioned, not very much in the way of thunderstorm activity across Alabama today. Most of the heavier showers right here in Pickens and Greene counties in West Alabama. Those are moving slowly to the southeast, and aside from that, most everybody has been dry today. today. Showers and thunderstorms a little more concentrated back off to our east here through parts of eastern Tennessee and northern Georgia, but those will likely dissipate soon after dark without bothering us at all. Well, around the nation this afternoon, it's hot and steamy across the south, pretty standard July day. We are watching a cold front here across the country's midsection, and there's some possibility the upper air winds might change by the end of the weekend and the first part of next week. And if that happens, we'll have more of a northwesterly flow aloft, and that might help to push that cold front near the northern part of Alabama. And if that happens, we will see some increase in thunderstorm activity and a little cooler weather again by the first part of next week. But again, today, most of the thunderstorms here through South Georgia, southeast Alabama, those will dissipate soon after dark. Tomorrow, another hot and steamy day across the south, lots of sunshine. The heat will be on. Afternoon highs well up into the 90s across the region. The afternoon heat index value will likely approach 105. And of course, keep in mind now on Channel 6, every 30 minutes, whenever the heat index is over 100, we give you updates. So you'll know when you need to go inside. Certainly, if you got to do some outdoor chore tomorrow, you might want to do it early in the morning or late in the afternoon. The air a little cooler up north, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see a fringe of that by the first part of next week. Here's our forecast now for tonight in Birmingham. Warm and humid. The overnight low at 73. For tomorrow, hot, lots of sunshine, just a small chance of an afternoon storm with a high of 95. And up on the Channel 6 5-day planning forecast, just small chances for thunderstorms tomorrow and Saturday, increasing chances Sunday on through the first part of next week, and maybe we'll have highs back in the upper 80s by Monday and Tuesday. I don't know what was worse today, my voice or the heat. It was a close race.
They're both bad right now.
I know.
Hope you can rest that a little bit.
I'll work on it before 10.
All right. Thank you, James. Well, if you didn't catch today's solar eclipse, we caught it for you on videotape. Take a look at the eclipse through the Red Mountain Museum's solar telescope. It was about a 40 to 50% eclipse here that started about 1:30 this afternoon. Now, folks in Miami and Mexico saw a 100% blockage of the sun by the moon.
Some state news of importance. The proposed gas tax increase has gone to a House Senate Conference Committee now. That plan calls for an additional 7.5-cent sales tax, or tax I should say, on a gallon of gasoline. Lawmakers stalling the measure allowed it to go to committee when the $700 million bond issue attached to the House bill was removed with Speaker Jimmy Clark's permission. Also, you'll have to buckle up soon in Alabama. A mandatory seatbelt law is on its way to the governor now. It will require all of us to buckle up if we're in the front seat. And a reminder, we have expanded the Alabama Evening News to an hour tonight. We're taking a special look at the day after the crash of Flight 508 in Birmingham.
When we come back, the early morning scenes in Inslee.
It's no secret that factory program cars can save you thousands of dollars compared to new cars. But did you know that the Sarah Group of dealers has more makes and models than anyone? And these low-mileage program cars are available at all 10 Sarah locations. Sarah's program cars are completely inspected and so carefully selected that we call them care cars. Chevys, Toyotas, Nissans, Mitsubishi, Subarus, and O's, all low mileage, nearly new and priced to save you thousands. See Sarah's care cars today at all 10 Sarah locations.
You ever stand behind a chicken?
Country Pride doesn't have one good reason to stand behind their fresh spring chicken. They have 3.
The secret to my chicken cacciatore isn't the cacciatore.
Only Country Pride chicken has the government grade A rating, the Good Housekeeping seal, and an individual freshness guarantee number.
Oh, I wouldn't say my chicken is 3 times better than yours, but,
There's 3 quality reasons why. It's hard to be humble when you're serving Country Pride.
You asked for it. Now Captain D's is bringing it back. The Shrimp and More Dinner for only $2.99. Featuring golden fried shrimp, delicious battered fish fillet, and French fries, coleslaw, and hush puppies for only $2.99. Captain D's Shrimp and More Dinner. A very popular dinner at an even more popular price. So what do you say? Try a Shrimp and More Dinner today at Captain D's, the great little seafood place.
You okay?
I feel so frail, not square like you.
Quaker Oat squares are more than just square. Whole grain oats sprinkled with brown sugar, and we stay crunchy.
Now I am depressed.
Quaker Oat squares. You'll love them from square one.
At Winn-Dixie, all cardboard boxes are recycled. That saves us a lot of money every year. These savings help us give you low prices nobody can beat. Nobody.
It was about 24 hours ago that we were first learning of and reporting the disaster of L'Express Flight 508. Brian Pia was one of our reporters who was on the scene throughout the night.
You are looking at pictures taken early this morning of the crash scene, the aftermath of what may be Birmingham's worst air disaster. All that's left is twisted metal and charred wood from the house the plane slammed into Wednesday evening.
Me and my mother and my two little brothers were sitting in the living room, and we heard the engine stall. And then we heard the engine try to crank one more time, and then it hit.
I could hear something like a roar, and I thought it was a tornado, really, because it was raining, the wind was blowing real hard, and then I heard my mother screaming, and she was saying, "Oh, Linda, come here, hurry." And
police say the plane first crashed into that house. Then the pilot was thrown out and landed right here. The stake marks the spot. Then the plane slammed into that house.
Rescue workers searched for hours for bodies and survivors. It was a gut-wrenching task.
We're still lifting up roof sections, wing sections and such. We're looking in the trees, try to find anything we can, with hope that maybe we can find some kind of survivors.
2 people on the plane survived, as did those who lived in the 2 houses that were demolished. But a total of 13 people died. Their bodies were removed one by one. When you look over the scene, what goes through your mind?
How fragile life is. One minute you're alive and well, and the next minute you're the victim of a plane crash.
Brian Pia, Channel 6, the Alabama Evening News.
Transportation officials could release more information about the crash later this evening at a news conference. Tapes of the conversation between the pilot and the tower will probably not be released for several weeks.
Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas has admitted he tried marijuana in college and law school. But a Gadsden man who went to high school with Thomas says that should not get in the way of the judge's nomination. Terrell Newby of our Anniston-Gadsden newsroom has the story.
When President Bush picked Clarence Thomas to serve on the Supreme Court, this Gadsden High School principal wasn't surprised. Smith is concerned about the heat his choir buddy could get over the marijuana confession.
In high school, a very secluded environment. There was nothing of that nature, no experimentation with marijuana in that setting. It would have been unusual for us to have gotten our hands on a beer.
Principal Smith says, as he flips through this 1966 high school yearbook, he remembers a Clarence Thomas that was a devout Catholic student and able to overcome adversity.
I think we're going to have the opportunity, especially in today's media, to really get to know him, and I think there's going to be a lot of pleasant surprises forthcoming. I'm very confident that he will be confirmed.
The last time Smith saw his schoolmate was at a St. John Vianney High School reunion 22 years ago in Savannah, Georgia. But Smith feels he has spent enough time around the Supreme Court nominee to gauge the good points in Thomas' past. He feels will outweigh a few bad ones. In Gadsden, Terrell Newby, Channel 6, the Alabama Evening News.
And Frank Smith says he plans to stress to Alabama Senator Howell Heflin that Thomas should be confirmed by the Senate.
There have been other air tragedies in Alabama prior to yesterday's, and coming up, we'll take a look at that.
As our special report continues, we'll take a look at the emergency response to the crash of Flight 508. That's next on Channel 6 News, your 24-hour news source.
La-Z-Boy now has 10 distributors in the Birmingham area, all claiming to have the best price. To make shopping for a new La-Z-Boy recliner, sofa, sleep sofa, or sectional much simpler, we suggest you shop the 9 other distributors, get their best price on the piece of La-Z-Boy furniture you want, then come to the La-Z-Boy Showcase Shop in Hoover and buy direct. Quite simply, the lowest price on La-Z-Boy furniture. The La-Z-Boy Showcase Shop, Highway 31, Hoover.
When rising temperatures and high humidity levels push the heat index over the 100-degree mark, your body tends to lose its ability to keep yourself cool. That's when heat exhaustion can occur easily, and more seriously, there's the possibility of heat stroke. Hi, I'm James Spann. Channel 6 has a new service to inform you when the heat index reaches these critical levels. It's called Heat Watch. When you see the Heat Watch symbol on your screen, you'll know that that's the time to take the necessary precautions.
Brought to you by Alabama Power.
Red Lobster announces great new trios, like our Atlantic Trio, just $6.99.
$6.99?
Or crab legs,
juicy scallops, and shrimp.
Love it.
Great new trio starting at $6.99, only at Red Lobster.
Now Red Lobster's lunch menu is available Sunday too. So try our fried shrimp and grilled chicken with potato and salad, just $3.99. All week at Red Lobster for lunch. Now served Sunday too.
Hey, andale, to Mickey D's today. Get some fajitas to go. The price is so low.
McDonald's introduces chicken fajitas, only 99 cents each.
Green pepper, cheese, and pollo. That's chicken. Fresh tomatoes and cebolla. Did you say onions?
An unexpected taste at an unexpected price.
McDonald's today.
Chicken fajitas, only 99 cents each at McDonald's today.
Welcome back to this special edition of the Alabama Evening News. No city is ever fully prepared for a tragedy such as yesterday's crash of Express Flight 508. But rescue crews do spend careers training for such a disaster. Dan Cates reports while most of the rescue workers at the scene last night had never worked a major plane crash, years of training paid off.
Charles Rodriguez spent the day checking equipment the civil defense officer used to coordinate the scene at last night's crash site. According to official reports, police, fire, and rescue workers were on the scene in just minutes, and the response time and overall operation has been given an A+. But if Birmingham has never had a major air disaster, how did the rescue workers know what to do? This is why. It was July 9th, 1983, when every agency in Jefferson County took part in a simulated plane crash, a drill to learn exactly what happens and exactly what to do. That kind of training prepared rescue workers for what happened last night.
Each agency trains themselves, and we do some concurrent training with each other, and we all know each other because we work together constantly during the year. If this was an operation where no one had ever met before, it would not have gone as smoothly.
Another reason for the quick response time is the citizens who called police and fire departments. Shortly after the crash, E911 phones here at the Birmingham Police Department's communication room were flooded with calls from frantic neighbors.
Yes, we need a fire department down here on 29th Street. A plane just crashed. What happened? A plane just crashed. All right, being run into a house. All right, thank you.
Baby, still there? Yes, I'm still here. Hold on, your service. Yes, there was a plane crash in back of where I live, and the house is on fire. I think it hit the house.
2500 29th place, or right around there.
Right,
We're already on the way.
Thank you.
And rescue. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It's that kind of response which makes rescue operations a success. And even though people die, it prevents a major disaster from becoming much worse. Dan Cates, Channel 6, the Alabama Evening News.
And listen to this. Birmingham police say most of the first calls to 911 were nonverbal. People called and hung up or just couldn't say anything. But because the system is enhanced 911, police knew all the calls were coming from the same area, and that told them something was terribly wrong.
Well, last night's crash is the deadliest air disaster in Alabama's history, although there are 3 others that come close. Let's look at those. In September of 1945, 10 people died when an Army B-29 crashed in Randolph County. In December of 1954, 9 people were killed when an Air Force courier plane crashed near Huntsville. And on April 9, 1972, 7 people died in the crash of a single-engine Cherokee aircraft at Fort Payne. And the most recent crash in Jefferson County happened this past January. A small airplane flying from Starkville, Mississippi, crashed in the woods near the Bessemer Airport as it was preparing to land. A man, his son, and 2 other people were killed. But a Pelham teenager survived that crash, even after waiting 12 hours for his rescuers to locate the wreckage.
You're watching a special edition of the Alabama Evening News tonight. We've expanded to an hour in order to bring you extensive coverage of the crash of Flight 508.
Our reports continue now, but first, a quick look at the day in sports. This is Channel 6 News, your 24-hour news source.
They're loaded and rolling. Truckloads of Ford F-Series pickups arriving now at Adamson, Long Lewis, Ernest McCarty, and Jim Skinner Ford. A special allocation just for Metro Birmingham. That means the best selection and the biggest savings of the year on Ford F-Series regular cabs, super cabs, 4x2s, and 4x4s. Equipped F-Series pickups start at under $10,500. And that's before you get your best deal at Adamson, Long Lewis, Ernest McCarty, or Jim Skinner Ford.
They say 9 out of 10 kids will experiment with drugs or alcohol before they graduate. They say 1 out of every 3 who try drugs or alcohol ends up with a problem. But nobody really cared. My parents refused to believe. Friends turned away. 1 out of 3. I never thought I'd be that one.
Everyone who suffers from chemical dependency has one thing in common, an opportunity to change. We can help you find that strength.
Hi, I'm Scott Benson, Regional Manager for Southern Power. I graduated from one of the finest schools in Birmingham, Rhett's Electronics Institute. It was here that I studied electronics and discovered the growing demand for technicians needed in today's world. Rhett's provides you with everything you need to start your training. So call now to reserve your seat today and enjoy a great career tomorrow.
2517962.
Call Rhett's.
A dead husband comes back to life.
In the old days, we used to bury them.
But she's married another stiff.
Great. Dump Mr. Potato Head here. Let's go home.
2 better halves make a whole lot of trouble.
Your Honor, why are we wasting all this time here? Why don't you just let me and him arm wrestle for her, huh?
Will Harry get wise or cut down to size?
I think your porch lights burn out, Judge.
It's wife or death on the next Night Court.
Night Court, tonight at 10:35 on Channel 6.
Well, there may be some shifting of duties for the Birmingham Fire.
Yeah, Chan Gailey may end up keeping, of course, his head coaching spot with the Fire, but he may have another job, too, and he's been doing a lot of these responsibilities anyway to this point. Could the head coach soon turn into the Top Gun? Well, that's very possible. As it looks as if Chan Gailey of the Birmingham Fire is going to add the job of general manager to his head coaching responsibilities. Now, he's been busy since the end of the season. Since Michael Hugh left his post as the Fire's GM last month, Gailey's been tending to many of the responsibilities. The coach will talk things over with owner Gavin Maloof. An official announcement could come by this fall.
It has to be comfortable with everybody. The league has a final approval on it anyway, even if we decide to do it. If it's supposed to work out, it will, you know, and if it's not best for the organization, then we'll go another direction.
Now, speaking of the Fire, a total of 6 players from the team will be in NFL camps within the next week. That's NFL camp. Some good news today for John Miller, the fine defensive back with the Fire. He's signed a contract with the Phoenix Cardinals of the NFL. Miller made some huge plays this past season. That's one of them right there. He joins fellow teammate Steve Heisch out of Cordova in the Cardinals camp. And in fact, 6 Fire players, most of them on defense, are NFL bound if they can make the team. We got Moore and Maggio and Thorson and McDaniels and Heisch and Miller, and the teams respectively that they're trying out for are on the right of your screen. You know, the other day we showed you the latest pictures from Legion Field. Tonight, an interesting story about Bryant-Denny Stadium. It seems the new natural grass there is growing so quickly the guys there have to cut it 3 times a week. The seed was planted just 7 weeks ago. The maintenance people are going crazy, mowing the lawn, so to speak, over there. First game on the new surface is set for September 21st. It's Alabama, Georgia, and it'll be the first time in 20 years that artificial turf has not been down on that field for a game. As for the Barons, Marty Keenert talked with us about a half hour ago, says his people have had more talks with Southern League officials about that famous indemnity fee. First, last night, Huntsville hosting the AA All-Star game. Kevin Gardner, one of 2 Barons players to play in it, but the big story deals with the indemnity. Keenert tells us tonight he's made a new offer to Bragan. The AAA Expansion Committee is hoping the issue is resolved soon.
Well, I'm optimistic it'll be resolved. The worst Southern League can have is keep their 2 good cities. So, you know, I'm sure that there'll be some strong considerations given here, and that's really up to Charlotte and Birmingham's call as to whether or not what their next step is.
Now, the major leaguers are back to work tonight. It's a full slate of games as the guys are back in action after taking 3 days off after the All-Star break. We'll have some highlights for you today. Good news for Davey Allison out of Hueytown. He's won the second quarter Driver of the Year balloting. That voting is done by a national panel of motorsports broadcasters and writers. Davey edges out Michael Andretti of IndyCar fame in the voting. In fact, Davey has won, remember, 4 of the last 7 Winston Cup races. Well, they are getting down to the nitty-gritty at the Southern Open Tennis Tournament at the Mountain Brook Swim and Tennis Club. Some of the best boys and girls stars around the nation under the age of 18 playing. The boys' quarters played today. Peter Burker in the Cubs hat here loses. He was a number 3 seed. Rafael Rizzo-Patron, the former Birmingham resident, wins. He's into the semis. On the girls' side, Kristen Smith is in the finals here. She wins one of the girls' semis. The other semifinal is taking place as we speak. We'll have the whole wrap-up tonight at 10. And in golf, a huge tournament this weekend on the LPGA Tour. It's round 1 of the U.S. Women's Open at Fort Worth, Texas. LPA championship winner Meg Mallon right there. A couple fans out on the course today watching the action. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Anyway, right there, Pat Bradley is the current leader in the clubhouse. She's at 2 under par 69.
All right. Thank you very much, Rick. You're watching a special Channel 6 News report on the day after Flight 508, a crash that will certainly leave some horrible memories.
When we come back, a look at how people can deal with the mental strain of this disaster.
Who'll help you on a brand new 1991 Toyota Camry, only $10,990? $10,990. John Crump Toyota in Jasper, because we'll do whatever it takes.
Call now and get a hot deal on a Domino's Bacon Double Cheeseburger Pizza Feast, loaded with bacon, ground beef, and cheese. Call Domino's now and get a medium Bacon Double Cheeseburger Pizza Feast for only $8.99 and get another one for only $4 more.
To stay fit, the Surgeon General recommends a diet that's low in fat and cholesterol and high in complex carbohydrates, which is exactly what you'll find in every slice of Merita old-fashioned white bread. And while some doctors might recommend Merita for its nutritional value, there are those doctors who like Merita simply because it tastes good. Merita old-fashioned white. Good food for fitness.
Channel 6 Crime Stoppers is working, and you're the reason. I'm Terry Denard. Crime Stoppers reports on Channel 6 News have helped take criminals off the streets, helped recover stolen property, and helped confiscate more than $67 million in illegal drugs. Channel 6 Crime Stoppers is working because people like you are taking the time to phone in a clue to solve a crime. Join me for Channel 6 Crime Stoppers, only on Channel 6, your 24-hour news source.
The scenes of last night's crash of a commuter plane are on many minds tonight.
What impact will that have on people in the Inslee neighborhood where Flight 508 went down? Bob Wendorf, a psychologist at Hillcrest Hospital, joins us right now. Dr. Wendorf, I know I've caught myself looking at the pictures of the plane and imagining, thinking about what it must have been like for the people on board and those people on the ground. What about the folks who were in the neighborhood? What kind of psychological challenges will they have to face now?
Well, I think you're quite right to think of other people besides the immediate victims as also experiencing a tremendous trauma and stress here. And I would add not only the neighborhood people, but the rescue people, the fire people, the ambulance drivers, and so on. They need to have an opportunity to say what they experienced and to express that, to get the feelings out, and not block them inside. That's really the main thing at this point.
So if you're a friend perhaps of a rescuer who was working last night, you should maybe try to talk to them and pull out some of these feelings?
Be available. Help them not to block the feelings. Provide a safe and supportive kind of relationship environment in which they can express how they feel. And that may include some feelings that are difficult to deal with. Feelings of anger and guilt and frustration and helplessness.
I remember a police officer earlier in the newscast, he said he was talking about the thought of being alive one moment and the victim of a plane crash the next. Is it harmful to ponder sudden death?
No, it's probably useful to ponder sudden death. Part of dealing with a trauma like this is to attach meaning to the event and connect it to your own life. What are the implications of this for me and for my life? One of the implications might be that I need to live life to the fullest and do what I need to do, because we don't know how long it's going to last.
So that could be very constructive kind of thinking there. All right, thank you, Dr. Wendell.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, a recap of today's events, plus a look back at a night Birmingham won't soon forget.
Our special coverage of the tragedy of Flight 508 continues in a moment.
Midfield Dental Center is headquarters in Metro Birmingham for same-day dentures. Call Midfield Dental Center and set up an examination and a consultation regarding their same-day denture service. Midfield Dental Center offers full-service family dentistry, oral surgery, and general dentistry. Most of these services can be performed while you sleep. From cleaning to dentures to implants to TMJ, whatever your dental needs, Midfield Dental Center is the convenient location for you. Midfield Dental Center, call 923-6828 for an appointment.
And if you're looking for any relief from the heat in the next week, forget
it. Insulation, storm windows, and an energy-saving heat pump. Good Sense features that can help make your home more energy efficient. For more information on energy-efficient homes, call Alabama Power.
You're trying out for the team too?
Yeah.
Then I don't have a chance.
Why?
Well, you're taller and you're...
I'm black. Come on, we both have the same chance. Haven't you ever heard of Larry Bird? Come on, let's go practice.
Life is a team effort. Give each other a chance. This message from Subway Sandwiches and Salads and Channel 6. Friends of the family.
Here's a brief recap of the tragic events of the past 24 hours and 40 minutes. L'Express Flight 508, a C-99 commuter jet from New Orleans, went down in a neighborhood just northwest of the State Fairgrounds to the west of Birmingham last night during a heavy thunderstorm. 13 of the 15 people on board are dead. No one on the ground was killed.
The plane left New Orleans yesterday afternoon bound for Birmingham with a stop in Mobile. It was on its final approach to the airport when it went down about 8 miles from the airport. And throughout the night, investigators have been on the scene going through that rubble looking for clues as to what actually caused the plane to go down. The National Transportation Safety Board will be holding a press conference at 7 o'clock. Here you see a shot from the Holiday Inn where they are preparing for that press conference now.
A lot of the questions, of course, will be asked of the NTSB about where their investigation stands, what they're looking into, whether the cockpit voice recorder was on. Have they listened to that yet? We will join that news conference and bring that information to you as it happens at 7 or shortly after. It has certainly been a long 24 hours since the crash of Flight 508. A lot has happened in that period of time.
We'll leave you tonight with a look back at the events surrounding this tragedy in an Inslee neighborhood. Join us for the latest on the crash investigation as it continues tonight at 10.
Have a good
This
night.
afternoon, severe thunderstorms. A plane has crashed in Inslee.
But right now, no numbers on that. They are combing the buildings right now, looking for bodies or for people who may
You
still
can see
be
there,
injured.
that is the tail section of the plane. Again, this is an Express commuter flight.
The plane was coming straight at my house, but something happened. He must have hit the tree.
We found numerous fatalities at this time. We're not sure exactly how many.
Who told him that a passenger list will be released to us tomorrow. This is a plane similar to the one that crashed.
The pilot actually is doing fairly well now. He arrived with stable vital signs. We have completed our initial workup.
Perhaps this airplane went into this thunderstorm complex right here that intensified rapidly, and they ran into a microburst.
Express Airlines wish to extend our deepest sympathy to the families and friends of the passengers and crew of Flight 508.
Then the pilot was thrown out and landed right here. The stake marks the spot.
We now have the names of the people killed aboard this plane crash. Some people survived the crash of Flight 508 last night, including the pilot and a Birmingham man. Sarah Versa has been covering the conditions of the survivors all morning and joins us now from the newsroom. Sarah, what's the news and how is it?
Well, Bill, the news is very good for these crash victims. 81-year-old Leon Warren has been upgraded from fair to good condition at BMC.
Finally,
Princeton.
for now, one bright note to the crash of Flight 508. 81-year-old Leon Warren is in good condition at BMC Princeton. He was in the first house the plane hit, and he's been worried because he couldn't find his dog. Well, today, workers at the scene put his mind at ease. Tootsie is fine, tongue hanging out and tail wagging. Tootsie was under a table in the house, buried under the...
From the very beginning of the Flight 508 tragedy, Channel 6 News was the first to break the story.
Crashed into a house here in Ensley on 28th.
From the beginning, Channel 6 News was the only television station able to bring you live, continuous coverage throughout the night.
Pilot was thrown out and landed right here.
Your 24-hour news team was there when it mattered most.
He is in stable condition.
This is the kind of coverage you expect from Alabama's news leader, Channel 6, your 24-hour news source.
Look what's new at McDonald's.
What is it, Dad?
Let's just wait and see, huh?
It's the stars of Walt Disney's classic movie 101 Dalmatians and a Happy Meal for a special low price. There's Lucky or Pongo, the Colonel with Sergeant Tibbs.
Lucky, get down.
Or Cruella DeVille. One toy each week when you buy your kids a hamburger Happy Meal at a special low price. The movie is only at theaters. The Happy Meal is only at McDonald's.
They're loaded and rolling. Truckloads of Ford F-Series pickups arriving now at Adamson, Long Lewis, Ernest McCarty, and Jim Skinner Ford. A special allocation just for Metro Birmingham. That means the best selection and the biggest savings of the year. Right now, save $2,600 on an F-150 XLT with air, stereo cassette, power all around, and more, including a $500 rebate. And that's before you get your best deal at Adamson, Long Lewis, Ernest McCarty, or Jim Skinner Ford.
WBRC and Jefferson Home Furniture, friends of the family.
In San Diego, and in the next hour, you're going to see a lot of very incredible things. The first is the unfurling of the largest American flag by 285 Marines from Camp Pendleton, and kicking it off,